Locked in a cold, metal cage, the German Shepherd lay still. His eyes were dull and lifeless. He was on death row at the shelter. His time was running out. Days had turned into weeks, and no one had come for him. No one wanted the large, scarred dog who flinched at every sound and backed away from every hand. He had stopped barking, stopped trying to get anyone's attention. While the other dogs howled and whimpered, he stayed silent, as if he had accepted his fate. But then, something unexpected happened, something extraordinary, a moment that changed everything. At night, the shelter was quiet. Only the occasional whimpers and soft howls broke the silence. Dogs longing for freedom. In a far corner, away from the main entrance, the German Shepherd named Rex lay in his cage. His large body curled tightly into the corner. Once proud, his posture was now hunched and broken. The scars on his coat told a story of pain, a past no one at the shelter really knew. Maybe no one even cared to ask. Rex had stopped barking weeks ago. He had learned it didn't matter. Barking didn't bring anyone to his cage. It didn't get him adopted. Visitors came and went, always walking past him. Their eyes lingered for a moment, then moved on to younger, more playful dogs. Rex wasn't what people were looking for. He was a large, intimidating shepherd with a record that said he had a history of aggression. But the truth? Rex wasn't aggressive. He was scared. Every raised hand reminded him of pain. Every loud noise made him tremble. But no one saw that. To them, he was just another unadoptable dog. And now, his time was almost up. That evening, as the staff cleaned up, Rex watched quietly from his cage. His eyes, once bright and full of life, were now dull. He didn't hope for a miracle anymore. His heart had grown heavy from waiting. Tomorrow was the day his life would end. The shelter had made the decision. There wasn't enough space, and Rex was labeled unfit for adoption. As the lights dimmed and the staff left, the silence deepened. Other dogs whined and barked, but not Rex. He let out a quiet whimper, so soft, it was barely a sound. It wasn't a cry for attention. It was the sound of a soul that had given up. It was a cry of resignation. But somewhere in the darkness, someone heard it. Across town, Emily sat in her small apartment, scrolling aimlessly through her phone. She was a vet tech by trade, someone who had dedicated her life to helping animals. But lately, she had felt lost. She had always wanted to adopt a dog, but life kept giving her excuses. Her apartment was too small. Her work hours were too long. She didn't have enough experience with difficult dogs. But that night, something stirred in her, a feeling she couldn't shake. She opened her social media feed, and there it was, a post from the local shelter, a grainy photo of Rex, lying in his cage, his eyes staring blankly at the camera. The caption read, "Rex, 5 years old, needs a home by tomorrow or he will be euthanized." Emily's heart sank. There was something in his eyes, something that spoke to her. She couldn't explain it, but she felt an undeniable pull. She stared at the photo for a long moment, her finger hovering over the screen. "You can't save them all," she whispered to herself, a phrase she had heard too many times in her line of work, but this time the words felt hollow. Without thinking, she dialed the shelter's number. It was late and no one answered, but she left a message anyway. "Hi, my name is Emily. I saw your post about Rex. I know it's late, but I want to help. Please don't do anything until I come by tomorrow." Hanging up, Emily felt a rush of emotions. Fear, doubt, and a strange sense of determination. She didn't know why she felt so drawn to this particular dog, but she couldn't ignore the feeling. She set her alarm for early morning, knowing she had to be at the shelter as soon as it opened. Back at the shelter, Rex lay still in his cage, unaware that somewhere had decided to fight for him. Moonlight streamed through the small barred window, casting a faint glow on his tired body. And for the first time in weeks, Rex let out a deep sigh, as if some part of him knew his story wasn't over yet. The morning sun crept over the horizon, painting the sky with soft shades of orange and pink. At the shelter, the staff had already begun their routine, feeding the dogs, cleaning the cages. For Rex, it felt like just another day in a long line of lonely, empty days. But today was different. Today was the day his fate would be decided. Rex sat quietly in his cage as the sound of footsteps echoed down the corridor. The shelter manager, a stern woman named Karen, approached with a clipboard in hand. Her expression was heavy with regret, but her eyes were firm. "I'm sorry, boy," she murmured. "We tried, but no one's come for you." She moved on, but Rex didn't react. He had already accepted what was coming. His once bright spirit had faded, buried under layers of disappointment and fear. Meanwhile, Emily was already on her way. Her heart pounded as she drove through the quiet streets. Her mind raced with doubt. What if he's too aggressive? What if I can't handle him? She whispered the questions to herself, but every time she thought about turning back, she saw the image of Rex's eyes. There was something about him she couldn't ignore. Pulling into the shelter's parking lot, Emily took a deep breath. The building was simple, just a brick structure behind chain-link fences. She hurried to the entrance, clutching her phone with the shelter's post still open on the screen. Inside, Karen was reviewing Rex's file one last time when she heard the door open. She looked up, surprised to see a young woman standing in the doorway, slightly out of breath. "Hi, I'm Emily," she said, her voice trembling just a little. "I called last night about Rex." Karen raised an eyebrow, glancing at the clock. "You're here early," she said, "but you're too late. He's scheduled." "I'll take him," Emily interrupted, her voice suddenly firm. Karen paused, studying the determination on Emily's face. "Are you sure? Rex isn't an easy dog. He's had a rough past, and we've had issues with aggression." "I'm sure," Emily said, her voice steady despite the nerves fluttering in her chest. "I know what I'm doing. Please, just give me a chance," Emily said. Karen hesitated, but there was something in Emily's voice, something sincere, that made her pause. With a slow nod, she set the clipboard down. "All right," she said. "Let me take you to him." Emily followed her down the corridor, the sounds of barking and whining growing louder with each step. The air was heavy with the smell of disinfectant and damp fur. As they reached Rex's cage, Emily's heart sank. He looked even more defeated in person than he had in the photo. His body was curled tightly in the corner, his head resting on his paws, and his dull eyes barely noticed their presence. Karen opened the cage slowly, cautiously, keeping her movements calm. "Be careful," she warned. "He's not exactly welcoming." Emily crouched down, her voice soft and soothing. "Hey, Rex," she said gently. "It's okay, boy. I'm here to take you home." At the sound of her voice, Rex lifted his head slightly. His ears twitched. He didn't move, but there was something in his eyes. A flicker of curiosity, maybe. Emily extended her hand slowly, making sure not to get too close. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'm not going to hurt you." Rex hesitated, his body tense. But after a long pause, he shifted slightly. His nose twitched as he sniffed the air. Emily held her breath, her hand still outstretched. Then, slowly, cautiously, Rex moved toward her. His steps were unsure, almost timid. When his nose finally touched her hand, Emily felt a surge of relief. "Good boy," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "Good boy." Karen watched quietly from behind, her usual guarded expression softening into a faint smile. "You've got a lot of work ahead of you," she said, her tone lighter now. "But maybe, just maybe, this will work." As Emily led Rex out of the shelter, the morning sun bathed them in a warm glow. Rex's steps were slow and stiff, but he followed her. For the first time in months, he was leaving the shelter. For the first time in months, he had hope. The drive to Emily's apartment was quiet, filled only with the hum of the engine and the occasional rustle from the back seat. Rex lay curled on a blanket she had placed for him, his eyes watching the unfamiliar world outside the window. His body was still tense, his movements cautious, like he couldn't quite believe what was happening. Maybe this was just another stop, another moment of false hope before returning to the cold, metal cage. Emily kept glancing at him in the rearview mirror, her chest aching at the sight. She wanted to say something, to comfort him, but she knew words wouldn't be enough. This was a dog who had learned not to hope, not to trust. It would take more than kind words to break through the walls he'd built around himself. When they arrived, she parked in front of her modest apartment building, a small patch of grass sitting out front. She turned to Rex and spoke gently. "We're here, boy. This is home now." She opened the door slowly, giving him time to adjust before offering the leash. He hesitated, ears twitching, but eventually stepped out. His paws touched the ground as he sniffed the air, his posture still guarded. Emily led him toward the building, moving slowly so she wouldn't startle him. Inside, the apartment was simple but warm. A dog bed sat by the living room window and 2 bowls, one with fresh water, one with kibble, waited in the kitchen. Emily had spent the night before preparing the space, wanting it to feel safe and welcoming. But as she unclipped the leash and let Rex explore, it became clear he wasn't ready to settle. He moved cautiously through the apartment, sniffing every corner, his body low to the ground as though danger might leap out at any second. When he reached the dog bed, he gave it a quick sniff, then turned and retreated to a corner near the front door. Curling into a tight ball, his eyes locked on Emily, watching her every move with quiet, wary curiosity. Emily sighed, her chest tightening. She had expected this. She knew it would take time, but seeing him so withdrawn, it hurt more than she was ready for. She crouched down, her voice soft. "It's okay, Rex. You're safe now. Here, no one's going to hurt you." For a moment, Rex's eyes softened, but he didn't move. Emily decided to give him space. She retreated to the kitchen to prepare dinner, hoping the smell of food might coax him out of his shell. But when she returned with a plate for herself, Rex was still in the same spot, his head resting on his paws, unmoving. Over the next few days, a delicate routine began to form. Emily gave Rex all the space he needed. She never forced him to interact, but she always let him know she was there. She spent hours sitting quietly on the floor near his corner, reading a book or working on her laptop, allowing him to get used to her presence. Slowly, Rex began to relax. His posture wasn't as tense, his eyes a little less guarded. One evening, as Emily sat on the couch watching TV, she felt a faint pressure against her leg. She looked down and froze, her heart skipping a beat. Rex had approached her. His nose gently nudged her knee. Emily didn't move, afraid to scare him off. Then, slowly, she reached out, her hand hovering over his head before gently resting on his fur. "Good boy," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. Rex didn't pull away. He stood there for a few moments, then quietly returned to his corner. But the connection had been made. It was a small step, but to Emily it felt monumental. That night, as she lay in bed, her mind replayed everything Rex had been through. The scars on his body, the fear in his eyes. They told a story of pain and survival. But beneath all that, she saw a spark, a glimmer of hope that hadn't died. She was determined to fan that spark into a flame. And as she drifted off to sleep, one thing felt clear. Rex's journey was just beginning. Whatever challenges came next, they'd face them together. Days stretched into weeks, and slowly Rex began to change. At first, it was subtle. A soft wag of his tail when Emily called his name. The way he followed her from room to room, always keeping a cautious distance, but never letting her out of sight. Each tiny moment felt huge. Each step forward cracked the wall he'd built around himself. Emily stayed true to her promise. She never pushed. She never rushed him. But she celebrated every small victory. When Rex finally lay on the dog bed she had set up for him, she nearly cried. It wasn't much, but it was proof that he was starting to trust her. Starting to believe that maybe, just maybe, this new life wasn't so bad. One evening, after a long day at work, Emily decided to try something new. She grabbed a leash and knelt down in front of Rex, holding it out for him to see. "What do you think, buddy? Want to go for a walk?" Rex tilted his head, his ears perking slightly. It was the most curious expression she had seen from him yet. Encouraged, she clipped the leash to his collar and opened the front door. Rex hesitated. His eyes darted to hers, as if seeking reassurance. She gave him a gentle pat. "It's okay. Let's go." As they stepped outside, the cool evening air wrapped around them. The neighborhood was quiet. Trees lined the streets, their leaves rustling softly in the breeze. Rex moved cautiously, his body low, his steps hesitant. But as they walked, he began to relax. His nose twitched as he sniffed the air, taking in the new scents around him. For Emily, it was a bittersweet moment. She couldn't help but wonder, how long had it been since Rex had enjoyed something as simple as a walk? How many years had he spent confined, deprived of the freedom every dog deserves? As they turned a corner, a neighbor approached. A middle-aged man walking a cheerful golden retriever. Emily tensed, unsure of how Rex would react. She stopped, holding the leash firm but gentle. "It's okay, Rex," she whispered calmly. The golden retriever wagged its tail, and the man gave her a friendly smile. "New dog?" he asked. Emily nodded. "This is Rex. I adopted him a few weeks ago." The man crouched slightly, keeping a respectful distance as he held out a hand for Rex to sniff. Rex froze. His body stiffened. Emily felt the tension ripple through the leash. For a moment, she thought he might lunge, but instead he stepped back, his eyes wary but not aggressive. "Good boy," she said softly, relieved. The neighbor stood up and gave her an understanding nod. "You're doing great. It takes time, but they always come around." Emily smiled, grateful for the encouragement. As they continued walking, Rex seemed more confident. His steps grew steadier, his ears more relaxed. By the time they returned home, he was walking beside her, his head held just a little higher than before. That night, as Emily settled onto the couch with a cup of tea, Rex surprised her again. He walked over, tail wagging ever so slightly, and gently rested his head on her lap. Emily froze, her breath caught in her throat. She set her cup aside and gently ran her fingers through Rex's fur, feeling the warmth of his trust. For the first time. "You're a good boy, Rex," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "You're going to be okay." For the first time since she had brought him home, Rex seemed at peace. His eyes closed, and a soft sigh escaped him as he rested his head in her lap. In that quiet moment, Emily knew the walls around his heart were finally starting to come down. But just as everything seemed to fall into place, a shadow from Rex's past crept in. One night, as Emily was tidying up the apartment, she noticed something strange. A car she didn't recognize was parked across the street. Its headlights were off. It had been there for hours, unmoving. Rex, who had been dozing near the window, suddenly stood. His ears were alert. He let out a low, rumbling growl that echoed through the room. Emily's heart dropped. For all their progress, maybe Rex wasn't as free from his past as she had hoped. The car stayed parked for hours, its dark silhouette barely visible under the dim streetlight. Emily tried to convince herself it was nothing. Maybe it belonged to a neighbor. Maybe someone was visiting. But the knot in her stomach wouldn't go away. And Rex knew something. His growl didn't stop. His body stayed tense. He stood by the window, eyes locked on the car. "Rex," Emily whispered, crouching beside him. She gently stroked his fur, trying to calm him. "It's okay, buddy. You're safe here." But Rex didn't relax. His growl deepened. His eyes never moved from the window. Emily had seen him react to sudden noises before, but this was different. This was something primal. She glanced at the clock. It was past midnight. Whatever was happening, she needed answers. Gathering her courage, Emily stepped outside. The cool night air sent a chill down her spine as she walked to the edge of the driveway. The car was still there. Its windows were tinted, making it impossible to see inside. "Can I help you?" she called out, her voice steady despite the fear twisting in her chest. No response. Then suddenly the engine roared to life. Headlights flashed on, and the car sped off into the night. Emily stood frozen, heart pounding, watching until the vehicle disappeared down the street. She turned back toward the house, where Rex stood at the window, still watching, still tense. The next morning, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. She called the shelter to see if they had any more information about Rex's past. The response was vague. "We don't have much on him," the manager said apologetically. "He was found as a stray, but we did hear rumors about a difficult history." "What kind of history?" Emily pressed. There was a pause on the other end. "We heard he might have come from a dog-fighting operation, but nothing was confirmed." Emily's stomach dropped. Dog fighting. The thought of Rex being forced into such a brutal life made her heart ache. It explained so much. The fear, the scars, the deep mistrust. But it also meant that someone from that world might still be looking for him. And if they had found her, it wasn't a coincidence. That evening, Emily decided to take extra precautions. She locked every door and window, double-checking them before settling onto the couch. Rex stayed close, his usual caution replaced by a quiet, heightened alertness. He seemed to sense her fear, and somehow his presence calmed her. But as the hours passed, the unease only grew. Around midnight, Rex's ears perked up. He let out another deep growl. Emily's heart raced. She followed his gaze to the front window. The car was back. This time, she didn't hesitate. She grabbed her phone and dialed the police, her voice hushed but urgent. "There's a car outside my house," she said. "It's been watching us for hours. Please send someone." The operator assured her that an officer was on the way, but every minute felt like an hour. Rex stood by the door, his body rigid, ready to protect her if he had to. When the police finally arrived, the car was gone. Only tire marks on the pavement remained. The officer took her statement, but there wasn't much they could do without more information. "If it comes back, call us immediately," he said, his tone firm. "We'll keep an eye on the area." After the officer left, Emily sank to the floor beside Rex. Her hands trembled as she stroked his fur. "What have you been through, Rex?" she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "What are you running from?" Rex leaned into her touch, his body relaxing just slightly, and for the first time that night, felt like he understood, as if he knew her fear, as if he was trying to tell her they'd get through this together. But deep down, Emily knew the danger wasn't over. Whoever was in that car wasn't just watching. They were waiting, and she would do whatever it took to protect Rex from whatever shadows were trying to drag him back into the past. The following day dawned gray and heavy, the sky thick with the promise of rain. Emily sat by the window, sipping her coffee and watching Rex as he lay at her feet. His head rested on his paws, eyes half closed, but his ears twitched at every little sound. He was calm, but not relaxed. The events of the night before had left a lingering tension in both of them. Emily's phone buzzed, breaking the silence. It was Karen, the shelter manager. "Hi, Emily," she said, her voice cautious. "I thought I should let you know. We got a call this morning. Someone was asking about Rex." Emily's stomach turned. "What did they say?" "They didn't give a name," Karen replied, "but they were insistent. They kept asking if we knew where he was." "I didn't tell them anything, of course," she added, but her voice trailed off, leaving the implication hanging. "Thank you for letting me know," Emily said. Her voice was steady, but inside, panic churned. She hung up and looked at Rex. He was staring at her now, his eyes sharp and alert, as if he could feel her fear. "We'll figure this out," she whispered. "I won't let anyone hurt you." That evening, the storm finally broke. Thunder rolled in the distance as rain lashed against the windows. Emily checked every lock on every door and window, her heart racing with every flash of lightning. Rex stayed close, his quiet presence grounding her, a constant reminder of what was at stake. Around midnight, the sound of a car engine cut through the storm. Emily's pulse spiked. She pulled back the curtain. The car was back, parked across the street, headlights off, barely visible in the downpour. Her hands shook as she grabbed her phone. "This is Emily Carter," she said quickly. "The car is back, the one I reported last night. Please send someone." The operator assured her that officers were on the way. But Emily knew it might take time. Too much time. She turned to Rex, who was now standing by the door. His body was rigid. His ears were perked, alert. A deep growl rumbled from his chest, a warning to whatever threat was approaching. The minutes crawled by. Then came the sound that froze her blood. Footsteps on the porch. Her breath caught in her throat. Someone was outside. Rex barked sharply, his voice loud and fierce, echoing through the apartment. Emily grabbed a flashlight, her hands trembling. "Stay here," she whispered to Rex. But he didn't move. He stood by her side, eyes locked on the door. The doorknob rattled. Emily's heart pounded as she flipped on the flashlight and aimed it through the peephole. Through the rain, she saw the shadowy outline of a man. He was trying to force his way inside. Before she could react, Rex lunged at the door, barking with raw, ferocious power. The man on the other side froze, clearly startled by the dog's sudden fury. Emily took the chance. "The police are on their way," she shouted. "Leave now." The man cursed under his breath. And then, just as quickly, he turned and ran. Emily watched from the window as he sprinted to the car. It roared to life and sped off into the night. When the police arrived, she recounted everything, her hands still shaking. They promised to increase patrols in the area and took down all the details. But Emily knew this wasn't over. Whoever was after Rex wasn't going to give up easily. After the officers left, she sat on the floor, her back against the door. Rex came to her, pressing his large body against hers. She wrapped her arms around him, burying her face in his fur. "You're safe now," she whispered, more to herself than to him. "We'll get through this together." The next morning, Emily made a decision. She packed a bag, loaded Rex into the car, and drove out to a friend's property in the countryside. It was quiet, secluded, a place where Rex could finally be free from the ghosts of his past. As they pulled up to the small farmhouse, Emily felt a wave of relief wash over her. This was a fresh start, not just for Rex, but for both of them. And for the first time since she had brought him home, Rex stepped out of the car with his tail wagging. Rex sniffed the air, his body relaxing, his eyes brighter than Emily had ever seen. She smiled through her tears, knowing they had both finally found what they'd been searching for, peace. Rex turned to her and let out a small, happy bark, as if to say, "Thank you." Emily knelt down and hugged him tightly. "You're my family now," she whispered, "and no one will ever hurt you again." Rex's journey, from a cold shelter cage to a life filled with love and freedom, was nothing short of extraordinary. His scars, both physical and emotional, told a story of pain and survival, but also of resilience and hope. Emily's determination to protect him and give him the life he deserved proved something powerful. That every animal, no matter how broken, can heal when given love and care. Rex wasn't just a rescue dog. He became a symbol of second chances, a testament to the power of compassion. Together, he and Emily overcame the shadows of his past, proving that no matter how dark the beginning, there's always hope for a brighter tomorrow. If the story touched your heart, don't let it end here. Subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share this video with someone who believes in the power of love and second chances. Together, we can give more animals like Rex the chance to rewrite their story, to find the happiness they deserve. Thank you for being part of this journey. Let's keep spreading hope, one rescue at a time.